Like I said, we're reading Sofia Valdez, Future Prez. How many of y'all have this book at home? Sofia Valdez, Future Prez. Sofia was a baby who got things done, helping her family before she turned 1. Look at there, she's helping water the flower. She and Abuelo went out every week to help elderly friends around Blue River Creek, who couldn't get out and about on their own and with no place to gather, were stuck home alone. Look at Sofia. She's helping this fellow carry his groceries. And here are all of her neighbors. They have a puppy, a cat. How many of you have a puppy or a cat at your house? Raking the leaves, taking pets for a walk, or just dropping by for a treat and a talk. Sofia Valdez did as much as she could for her family and friends and her whole neighborhood. A dreamer, a doer, a real-life go-getter. Most people like good, but Sofia liked better. You see Sofia here? She's walking these dogs. Let's see how many she's walking at one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 dogs at one time. Have you ever walked 6 dogs at one time? I don't think that would be very easy. Each morning, Abuelo walked Sophie to class. They walked home again along Blue River Pass, making plans, munching cookies, Abuelo and girl, except for that Tuesday when Pup saw the squirrel. With a howl, Pup took off, racing all through the town, over, under, beneath, and around. Sofia scrambled to try to keep up with the hollering man and the bellowing Pup. You see her puppy? And here's the squirrel. Poor Abuelo. He's having trouble, I think. Up the squirrel ran to the top of a hill made of leftover junk for the local landfill. They reached the tip-top of that mountain of trash, which jiggled and broke with an ear-splitting crash. Have any of you ever seen a mountain of trash that looked like this? That's a lot of trash. Down they all tumbled and hit with a thud on a moldy old pumpkin surrounded by mud. "Ouch!" cried Abuelo. He struggled to stand. "A dangerous mess," he said, grasping her hand. Uh-oh, what do you think happened to Abuelo? The next day, Sofia walked to school solo, but it wasn't the same without her Abuelo. "This is not right," declared young Sofia, who glared at Mount Trashmore and got an idea. Look at all that trash. What do you think her idea is? The very next morning at dawn, she planted a sign at the front of the lawn. She stood back and smiled, and Pup gave a bark. "Get rid of Mount Trashmore. Let's build a new park." What do you think about that? Does that sound like a good idea? Do you like going to the park? Each of her neighbors had something to say about benches and fountains and places to play, meeting spots, gardens, a basket for bees, a rubber duck pond, and a kiosk for cheese. She drew every thought on her map of the park, which was perfectly perfect by 1/4 till dark. Look at her writing the ideas down from all of her neighbors. She drifted to sleep in her soft, cozy bed. Then bam! She woke up when a thought smacked her head. Her heart skipped a beat and she realized each one of her neighbors had said, "Let me know when it's done." They all thought Sofia could build it alone. But how could one girl do so much on her own? The weight of that thought made her tender heart ache as night thunder growled and she lay wide awake. Then dawn brought a storm and the gloomy sky wept, and the heartsick Sophia finally slept. Have you ever had a thought wake you up in the middle of the night? Abuelo baked cookies when Sophie got up. He gave her a bagful and sneaked one to Pup. He blinked back a tear as he hugged his Sophia. For courage, he whispered. Te amo, mi vida. Sophia's knees wobbled. She felt weak inside. She looked at his ankle and quite nearly cried. Though she didn't feel brave or courageous at all, Sofia Valdez went to face City Hall. Look, she looks scared, doesn't she? And look at Abuelo's ankle. It's all wrapped up in a ace wrap. So here goes Sophia. Look at little Sophia in giant City Hall. The mayor's office sent her to room 401, the Blue River Creek Department of Fun, which sent her downstairs to room 302, the office of duck ponds and cool things to do, to the office of monkeys, the department of cheese, the division of fountains, and meetings of bees. Then down to the basement, so musty and cramped, where all the town's papers were sorted and stamped. And that's where the clerk said what no one else did. You can't build a new park. You're only a kid. Has anyone ever told you that? You can't do something because you're only a kid? The word smacked Sophia deep down in her heart. Her plan was kiboshed before it could start. I think, said Sophia, I think that law's wrong. But her second grade voice didn't sound very strong. The clerk said, clearly it cannot be done. Do you have any questions? Sophia said, one. If you were me, and if I was you, and he was your grandpa, what would you do? She's pointing to her grandpa in the picture. Well, said the clerk. Then she said nothing at all. She thought and she thought, and then she sent out a call to every employee throughout City Hall. What do you think's going to happen? The entire government of Blue River Creek crammed into the office to hear Sophie speak. But her words jumbled up and her cheeks turned bright red as a dozen emotions rushed into her head. Her heart beat so loudly she thought it would crack. The crowd leaned in closer. Sophia leaned back. Then her arm brushed the edge of the old cookie sack. Remember the cookies from her abuelo? And that was the moment when Sophia first knew being brave means doing the thing you must do. Though your heart cracks with fear, though you're just in grade 2. Have you ever felt fear and then realized you needed to be brave? That's what Sophie did. She took a deep breath, looked the mayor in the eye, and though her knees wobbled, she held her head high. Sophie started talking. She spelled out her plan and why it all mattered and how it began. And once she got rolling, she had lots to say about meeting spots, monkeys, and places to play, and other ideas for things they could do to help the town elders and other folks too. She had thoughts on the library, thoughts on the zoo, and perhaps a way to combine the two. And Sophia had a lot of thoughts, didn't she? Look at all of her ideas. All right, cried the mayor. Go start a petition. If the town wants a new park, we'll form a commission. And so young Sophia got right to work with some help from her family and Pup. And the clerk. See the clerk helping? Look at all these people. The others joined in, not all, but a few, like Miss Lila Greer and the kids in grade 2. Look at all of her helpers. There were hearings and surveys and taxes to figure, then bulldozers, cranes, and a blue, bigger digger. They all built that park. That's how it got done, with the hard work of, by, and for everyone. But it began with the dream of one person, just one, who laced up her shoes and then led the way to help Blue River Creek get a new place to play. Now every evening till long after dark, the town comes together at Citizens Park. They all hold this truth to be self-evident, that Sofia Valdez could grow up to be president. Until then, Sofia, that real-life go-getter, helps Blue River Creek get better and better. Look at that. Look at all of these things that Sofia's working on. And that's the end of the story. What do you guys think about that one? I love that story because it teaches our children that they are really capable of doing anything. And I think that's such an important message that I want all of my patients to grow up knowing that if they put their mind to something, that they can do or be anything that they want to.